What's up, fighting fans? Tips from the Fight IQ channel. Today we're coming back for another episode of the Fight IQ show. And I'm gonna start by thanking you all, guys. I saw that there was a lot of people on my last video. I really appreciate the support. So keep punching those like and subscribe buttons, it helps me a lot. Now that's being said, let's go talk about last weekend. I'm gonna give you my top 3 from the fights I saw and tell you why they should be watched or rewatched. To make this ranking, I base my opinion on these criteria: the excitement, the duration of the fight, the opposition level, and the way to finish the fight. So let's get ready to rumble! This weekend I watched 166 in Qatar on Friday 1st, Oktagon 54 in Czech Republic on Saturday 2nd, the UFC Fight Night in Vegas on Saturday 2nd, and the Lopez vs Abe boxing event in Verona, New York on Saturday 2nd. I didn't watch the Serrano vs Meinke boxing event in Puerto Rico. I didn't have time. Globally, I've been a bit disappointed about some fights that I was expecting, but I was also really surprised by others, so that balanced my emotions a bit. Number 3. Luis Alberto Lopez vs Rhea Abe, co-main event of the Kholmatov vs Ford boxing card in Verona, New York on Saturday 2nd. And that was for the IBF featherweight world title. I really enjoyed watching that fight, great matchup. As I said in the preview, pressure fighter versus counter fighter, and that's exactly how it went. I was surprised by the intensity brought by Lopez from the very beginning. He went at it from the first round, putting power behind his punches, a lot of volume as usual. Abe seemed in difficulties. I think he's not used to face that kind of intensity. His timing to counter was a bit off, and he took a lot of damage early. To be honest, I thought that the fight would be stopped after 3 or 4 rounds. Abe's eye was almost totally closed, but he wanted to continue. Then he surprised me. He was starting to have more success with the punch he was throwing. He forced Lopez to put his guard up. That's not something you see really often. But from the 6th round, Lopez put his foot on the gas pedal again. He chased Abe across the ring, forced him to cover up, making him unable to see where the danger was coming from. El Venado scored some nasty shots, finding good angles when Abe was trying to protect himself. Hooks to the body, uppercuts, leaping directs. That's a thing of beauty to see Lopez box, really. Unique fighter, he has a great IQ, great conditioning. I think it was too much for Abe, who's a good boxer too, but he never faced somebody with that level of skills before. The ref stopped the fight during the round 8, deciding that Abe took too much damage. Lopez keeps his belt, proving he belongs to the elite. I'd like to see him go for another belt in this weight class before moving up to the next, and I can't wait to see him box again. Number 2. Rainier the Reader vs Anatoly Malykhin, main event of the 166 in Qatar. It was on Friday 1st, and it was for the middleweight championship. This one was an amazing performance and a powerful statement. In the preview, I said that it would be close, that middleweight was the Reader playground. Spoiler alert, I was totally wrong. Malykhin arrived looking in great shape, as powerful as he usually is in the light heavyweight. He made clear from the beginning of the fight that he was not there to fuck around. He was throwing bombs at the Reader, trying to reproduce the finish of their first fight. You could see that each and every punch was loaded with power, causing a lot of damages on the Reader's face and body. The champ tried to grapple as expected. He closed the distance. He went in the clinch against the fence to avoid taking damage and take Malykhin down. Unfortunately for him, he never succeeded to implement that strategy. Every time they went to the ground, Malykhin got up quickly, forcing the fight to be on the feet only. He really wore down his opponent, showing no sign of declining physically, and in the 3rd round after going to the ground, Malykhin scored some nasty strikes on the ground, including knees to the head. He got up, kicked the Readers in the leg, and told him to get up. But the Reader couldn't get up, completely exhausted, and the ref stopped the fight. A demonstration from Malykhin, beating the baddest middleweight in one championship, taking his belt, and becoming the first 3-division champ simultaneously in MMA. I hope this guy will get the recognition that he deserves because he did something big. I can't wait to see who he will face next and in which weight class. Good recovery to the Reader. I hope to see him coming back stronger. And number 1, Kholmatov versus Rayford, main event of the boxing card with the same name, in Verona, New York on Saturday 2nd, and it was for the vacant WBA featherweight world title. Amazing fight, best fight of the weekend in my opinion. Two incredible fighters with a high level of skills. And with the way it started, nobody could have predicted the way it ended. Ford's game plan was to take the center of the ring, put pressure on Kholmatov, forcing him to react, to counter with big shots. But the Uzbek came prepared. He had a great use of his jab, which was really messing with Ford's ability to close the distance. He also used his jab to set up his powerful left hand, reaching the target quite often in the early rounds. Ford seemed unable to find a solution to counter Kholmatov's strategy, which was perfectly executed, and we were headed to a victory for the Uzbek. But from the 6th round, Ford showed that he had grit. He showed that you could not count him out of a fight before it ended. He started marching forward, covering up well when his opponent was throwing punches, and when at the correct distance, he was throwing his own combinations with more and more success as the fight kept going. We could also see that he was a fresher fighter as we were going to the later rounds, and Kholmatov was started to miss more often, moving less smoothly, but credit to Ford for that. He was the one wearing him down, bringing the fight to him. It became a really close fight, heading to the decision until that crazy round 12 where Ford hurt Kholmatov with 30 seconds left in the fight. Then he threw everything he had, chasing his opponent across the ring, swarming in his face, forcing the referee to stop the fight with 10 seconds left. Incredible performance from Ford, displaying his toughness, his skills, his conditioning, and becoming the new WBA featherweight world champion. I can't wait to see him again, maybe against Lopez in the future. Still, congratulations to him, it was an amazing performance. Two other fights almost made it into my top 3. They were both at the UFC Fight Night. Steve Erceg versus Matt Schnell. Two ranked flyweights, explosive matchup, great boxing combinations. They both stayed in the pocket and were willing to bank, and at this game Erceg won, knocking Schnell out in the 2nd round with a beautiful hook. And the second one, Vinicius Oliveira versus Bernardo Sopai, two high potential prospects that were facing each other. Really interesting fights, both showed some nice stuff, and in the 3rd round Oliveira scored a nasty knockout. Flying knee to the chin, lights out directly for Sopai, but to be honest, I would like to see Sopai back in the octagon. He took the fight on short notice and he was looking great until that 3rd round. Her word on 166. I think it was a fiasco. We had some good fights in the prelims, but the main card was a catastrophe. Bular got a red card from being inactive. Brooks got disqualified after throwing Pacio on his head. It was unintentional of course, but I'm just talking about the emotions of the fans. Tang vs Lee was also kind of boring. Both really were cautious, also won by the ref with yellow cards, until Tang knocked Lee out in the 3rd round. Only the main event was sensational. UFC Fight Night was also not the best card, except the 2 fights I mentioned earlier. Still, we had some good performances from Ludovic Klein, Christian Leroy Duncan, and Umar Nurmagomedov. Mokaev struggled to win his fight versus Perez. He mentioned also having some health issues before the fight. Petrino won versus Tyson Pedro, who then announced his retirement after the fight. Enjoy your retirement, soldier. And Rosenstruik beat Gaziev quite easily in the main event, damaging him a lot with his jab, making him quit the fight between round 4 and round 5. Nice octagon event. I really enjoyed the lightweight tournament. I saw some good performances and prospects to follow. Milos Janisic, Predrag Bogdanovic, Afeni Nafuka, Mateusz Lerziewski, and Mohamed Mashaev. In the main event, King Cole won via submission for the middleweight title versus Wawrzyniak. I didn't watch the Serrano vs Meinke event as I said, but I saw some news and highlights. Sorry to hear for Serrano, who didn't fight because she had an eye injury. I'm just a bit concerned about the timing there. She really announced it last moment, which is not really cool for the fans, even though she announced that they will be refound. That's really a nice gesture that you can salute here. And Jake Paul won his fight. He seemed way better than his opponent. And that's it regarding last weekend. If you enjoyed that video, please give a hard punch to those like and subscribe buttons. It helps me a lot. Go hit the comments, Discord, Telegram, Instagram, whatever you're on. Give me your thoughts on the last bangers. I'll see you later this week.